Uh, you definitely have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least my problem, each pair is like $30. I've been wearing Converse for a long time. Now, I'm not going to be one of those guys say, I know they're hip, but I've been wearing them forever. But it's true. I'm old enough to have played basketball in them, in the Chuck Taylors.
The advice provided on this podcast is general advice only. All statements made are considered by the participants to be accurate, but accuracy cannot be guaranteed. It has been prepared without taking into account your objectives, financial situations, or needs. All participants in this podcast, including guests, may have a financial interest in any or all of the products or services mentioned. Before acting on this advice, you should consider the appropriateness of the advice, having regard to your own objectives, financial situations, and needs. If any private products are detailed on this podcast, you should obtain a product disclosure statement relating to the products and consider its contents before making any decisions. Where quoted, past performance is not indicative of future results.
Recorded October 13th, 2017. It's the Money Path Podcast with your host, Bob Iacchino and Mike Arnold, founders of Path Trading Partners. On episode 93, today's What and the Why is sponsored by MotiveWave. Go to pathtradingpartners.com and download your 14-day free trial. So let's join Bob and Mike with a conversation of news in the markets.
Okay.
The complete volume, all of Shakespeare's works, as compiled by Yale University.
Are you going to tell me you're going to be learned now?
I'm going to be what?
Learned?
I went to Yale.
You went to Yale? Did you graduate from Yale?
No, I went there and got a coffee on campus.
Oh, okay.
I didn't attend Yale. I just went there.
You went to are those peach colored?
Beautiful campus. Yeah, peach is a good description of them. I've had them called pink. I've had them called tan, but I think more accurately they're peach.
I think they look peach to me. They look peachy.
Yeah, they are my work shoes. One of my 16 pairs of work shoes. Are you going to wear sandals with socks when you watch the epic giant robot battle?
Yes, I am. This is so great. It's finally going to happen.
It's finally going to happen. What is this, Mayweather Pacquiao?
No, this is I've been following this for 2 years. It's going to be on Twitch on the 17th of October. Megabots versus Sudiobashi will fight.
Say this is the first unusual name you've been able to pronounce because you've been watching this for years.
Because I'm so excited, I can say Sudiobashi. I am so excited about this. You're having a 16-foot tall, 12-ton Megabot Eagle Prime robot, which was built by the American engineers. Well, Krautus, a 13-footer that weighs 6.5 tons, was built by the Japanese company Studio. Now I can't say it anymore. Sudiobashi Heavy Industries, and now they will battle for our own enjoyment on the 17th, live streamed on Twitch.
I believe you originally said it was Seal.
I don't know how to say it then. I'm just so excited.
Sudiobashi.
Whatever. I can't pronounce anything. Just assume I'm wrong. But I am very passionate about. I want to see a 12-ton and a 6.5-ton mega robot fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
You're not excited about that?
I actually am. I don't know how to do Twitch, but I will find a Twitch TV or whatever.
It's going to be right after it's done. It's going to be posted on YouTube anyway. So it's.
Oh, there you go.
So you don't have to really watch it live, but if you wanted to watch it live, it's
what do they have? Saws or fire or how you want?
They have everything. You actually should go to the YouTube channel and watch at least the American version because it's
American version.
Well, there's an American and a Japanese version. The Team American, Team Japan.
Oh.
So they've got a whole bunch of. They're like literally what's like mech warriors type of thing, but come to life. It's fantastic. Now I don't have to watch the little robots fight it out like on the Science Channel, which I watch every Wednesday because I'm so into fighting robots that it's crazy.
That's awesome. I'll watch that.
Yeah. So
you can test me next week. I'll find time to watch it.
We will test you to see if you actually came through and watched a mega robot battle. And that's I feel like the podcast is over now. That's what we just had to tell everybody.
Thank you, everybody. I am Bob Iacino. I actually just Googled it as you said that, and I ended up with an article from TheVerge.com. I didn't know it was the U.S. taking on Japan.
Yeah.
America's giant fighting robot. This thing's like almost 2 stories tall.
Yes.
What, are those guns in its arms or pipes?
I think they're missiles.
What the?
It's insane.
Is Sudiobashi red? They're literally making them like what do you call it? Like Transformers.
Yeah, well, it's cool. Well, they don't transform, but it's really cool.
Okay, I actually have to watch this.
Yes.
See, there's the chainsaw on the one.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, this is.
Has there been other battles between these things? Have I been missing all?
No, this is the first one. This is the first one ever.
So was this some sort of challenge thing?
Yeah, it was a challenge. And I think it was originally done on Kickstarter, a fundraising to raise all the money, and then companies sponsored it. And it was supposed to take place in August, but it got delayed due to some safety issues that when you have 2 huge robots that are actually armed fighting. Oh, it's the best thing ever. And I think it does have value to people.
Love it.
So,
can you get one of those on Amazon, or will Amazon
I would order
be able
one.
to, will Amazon be able to show those
house.
if they buy YouTube?
I don't know. Yeah, the Amazon is considering a more serious bid against YouTube. Amazon's taking meetings about getting serious on including more advertising opportunities on its video content. So they're actually looking to ramp up more and more against YouTube and go head to head with their own video service.
Do they have one that just isn't well known? I don't know that they have one. What do they have? Twitch?
They have Twitch, and then they have something.
Does Amazon own Twitch?
Yes.
They do? Okay.
Yes.
So that's first of all primary. So I mean, Amazon's going after everything, including YouTube. And in our further delivery segment, Amazon is considering to explore ways to deliver to car trunks.
Mm-hmm. I love that. See, that's the kind of stuff that I love that. That's
what I figured. So you're driving, you park your car somewhere. You're like, I gotta be at work. I'm at my CME office. Amazon, could you put my toilet paper in my car trunk? So when I drive back home, I'm good to go.
So here's part of that story. On Monday, Amazon announced Amazon Video Direct, a new self-service program that will let video creators post videos on the company's streaming platform and either sell them, rent them, or make them available to Prime members or offer them for free with advertising. That's interesting. So the interesting part of that to me is the Prime member thing. I wonder if you, like the content creators, then get some sort of, 1/100th of a penny per Prime member that subscribes to them or something. It'll be interesting to see how they sort of shake that out. But yeah, the car trunk thing. Love that kind of stuff. You guys know, I'm still waiting for the drone to shoot my toilet paper through the bathroom window while I'm on the pot. That's what I'm waiting for more than anything. That's going to be the happiest day of my life.
That's going to be the banner day when that actually happens.
Well, I just don't think I'm more comfortable anywhere but on the pot. Sorry.
Well, that's a good tie to Food and Fashion Nook.
Is it now? Because of the way I'm dressed on the pot and what I've been eating that exits me when I'm on.
Yes, well, maybe because you've been screwing up some of your cooking. So now GE Appliances first build is coming out with smart bakeware to tell you when your cheesecake is ready. It will message your phone, and it's got all the sensors in the bakeware to tell you exactly when whatever you're cooking is done. So because baking is actually very precise. So this is now it ties in with your smartphone, revolutionizing the cookware industry. It's coming out in early 2018. So first they're coming out as a cake pan, and then they're coming out with expand the lineup to cover bread, pies, and other baked creations, maybe cupcakes or brownies Ooh.
So is this bakeware with a timer in it, or is it bakeware
No,
that senses when it's done?
It senses through temperature exactly like you say, all right, I need this to be exactly 350. So when the outer edge hits 350, alert me. So
Gotcha.
you know how you have to do that knife test or this toothpick test. You have to constantly pull something out and dip it in and make sure it comes. Well, this is like, all right, so you put it in for 30 minutes, but after 27, it says, all right, it's at the perfect temperature. Get that cheesecake out of the oven.
Yep.
So that's coming soon by GE Appliances First Build Community.
That's really cool. That kind of stuff will sell.
Yeah. Oh, and then I put this sort of in food and fashion nook because Walmart sells food. I couldn't really say they sell fashion, but they do sell clothes. Walmart's app makes the return process easier. We keep outlining how all these stores are competing against each other, and Walmart and Amazon. Walmart is adding another new feature to its app. So this one makes returning things as painless as possible. When you need to return something, you'll first start the process on the app, then head to the store, scan a QR code at the mobile express lane, and just hand the item to a Walmart associate. The refund will be back in your account in approximately a day.
Fantastic. The next step, I wonder who's going to do this first, because the next step is you put it at your front door.
Yep. You know that's going to happen, because especially if they're going to deliver stuff to you.
Right. You scan it on your app, and then the second the associate picks it up, they scan it, and a refund is in your account.
Yeah. Especially if that gets you to tie in to maybe order some more stuff, because you're I ordered this, I need to return it, but if I order something else and they deliver it to my house for free, they'll also pick up what I need to return, and therefore I don't have to do anything.
I've said this before. This is part of the reason I like Walmart stock so much, but I also like Amazon's. I want to own them both. The whole online ordering thing for me developed through Zappos, and Amazon bought Zappos. So Amazon, Zappos, now the same company, is because they made the return process so painless that I would order stuff that I wasn't sure about. Whereas otherwise, if you're not sure about something, if you're somebody that cares about clothes, how they fit, how they lay, whatever, you have to go into a store and try it on. Well, with Zappos years ago with their shoes, you didn't have to. So I would order one of my 16 pairs of Converse, and Converse are strange because the Chuck Taylors fit small and the skater shoes fit big, or no, I think it's the other way around. Like I'm a 10 in Chuck Taylors and I'm an 11 in the skateboard shoes, and same company. So I would order them, try them on. If you didn't, you just put them right back in the box. They sent you you could print out a return label, paint it. Tape it. You didn't have to paint them. You didn't have to have like oil paints or anything, but you tape it shut with the return label on, you send it back. Easier these guys make returning, the less you're going to walk into bricks and mortars.
Yep. Yes.
It's not even about the same day shipping. It's about the returns.
Yeah. That's why, Amazon's teaming up with Kohl's, and Amazon's eventually just going to have, we'll just pick your stuff up too. So Walmart, we've been following that for weeks. We've talked about that a number of weeks on the podcast, and it pulled back the rotation zone a couple times on the weekly. We've had full targets of 87.81 to 88.14, and it finally broke out huge this week, trading 86.38. So on our way to our target areas. Just thought I'd update that.
Thank you for updating that.
You're very welcome. So what is Amazon doing? I have not looked at Amazon all week.
No, I haven't either. I know Netflix went through the roof this morning.
What, did they spend more money?
Maybe. They got above 200 for the first time ever. So an all-new time high for Netflix, I think.
Yes, I know Netflix. Amazon's still trading in a really nice horizontal channel pattern.
Mm-hmm.
But it's got to get above 1,030 to trigger.
Yeah, you got to look at Netflix Daily when you get a second, because they made an all new time high, but they're forming a pattern that we love.
Oh, does it officially hold on, a daily?
Yeah, on a daily.
A daily. Oh, look at that. You know what's interesting? This is a fascinating chart. They've been up essentially for the week, but every day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all 5 days are red candles.
Yeah, they close lower.
But that's a really nice we can't call it an official double top yet, but we can call it a potential double top.
We can.
We can.
our zone's in the way. I mean, it's low probability if it triggers, but who knows when it's going to trigger. The 21 could actually move its way up. So we'll see. I mean, the trigger point is the sell point's around 192.10. And right now I have, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, the 21 around 188 or so.
No, you're.
Am I close?
It's about time you were right for once.
Well, I was wrong about the Cubs. I thought they'd get swept.
You did?
Yeah.
Did you watch the game last night?
I turned it off when they were down in the third inning, and then I turned it back on when I saw they were up 6-4. So then I saw that seventh run, the eighth run, and the ninth run I saw. And then I fell asleep for the end of it. So I didn't see the Nationals cut it to 1.
It was very, very stressful.
But I've got the condensed game queued up on YouTube. If you guys don't know that, the next day, Major League Baseball puts out a condensed game on YouTube where you can actually watch the entire game in less than 21 minutes.
Very interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, they show almost every pitch, almost every one. There's obviously no commercials, no chatter in between. I don't even think they have the announcers in the background. It's literally just the game.
That's a great tie-in with the sports is broken corner and wearables.
I know what I'm doing. This is my first rodeo. Go ahead.
It's your second. MLB fines the coach for wearing an Apple Watch during the game. They didn't say there was any cheating going on, but the league isn't taking any chances. So they fined the Arizona Diamondbacks coach for wearing his Apple Watch in the dugout during the October 4th game against the Colorado Rockies.
So baseball's... Go ahead. I'm sorry, Mikey.
I was going to say they're also going to fine the whole team, not just the manager.
So, like, the individual players have to pay it? I'm sure the team's going to pay
the whole team has. Like the team, okay, I guess, gotcha. Owners.
Team piggy bank.
I don't know. Just let them all wear watches. You're never going to stop this stuff. I mean.
Yeah. Baseball is a funny game that they have so many rules that they just can't enforce without opinion. You know, I mean, now they're doing instant replay on, you know, whether a guy's safe or whether a guy's out, things like that.
Well, that was critical in the game last night. That instant replay turning over the pickoff at first.
Yeah, and we had a similar one where, like Tommy La Stella from the Cubs got awarded first base for catcher's interference, but all the catcher was trying to do was catch the ball, and La Stella's swing is so sweeping that he caught the top of the guy's mitt before he swung. Now, oddly enough, if you watch that in slow motion, he was actually going to make really solid contact, and then the glove adjusted the flight of his bat, and he ended up like just hitting it foul over home plate. But, you know, again, is that catcher's interference? Is La Stella's swing too wide? Is he too deep in the box? Did the ump check where he was set up in the box? There's so many of these little things, and sign stealing is extremely common in baseball. It's just now they're saying, look, you can't transmit it through an Apple Watch, okay? We know you're stealing signs, but you can't, like, hold up a cue card, for Christ's sake. That's essentially what they're saying with this. I mean, they all steal signs. And that's why they self-police. There was a game a while back. I don't want to spend too much time on sports, but there was a game a while back. I don't remember who the teams were, where the pitcher actually turned to the guy behind him on second base, and he said to him, and you can watch the video of it because you could read the guy's lips. He says, "You keep stealing signs like that, I'm going to drill you in the head next time you're up." He's going to throw a 90-mile-an-hour fastball at the guy's head because the second baseman was watching the catcher signal and making little signals to the hitter so that he knew what pitch was coming. It's constant in baseball. And yet they punish guys like Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire for cheating with steroids when steroids were not illegal in baseball at the time. They were illegal in the country, but they weren't illegal in baseball.
Well, there's the wrap-up of Sports Corner and Bob's opinion.
Yeah, let's wrap that up.
Yeah. Does somebody have a fidget spinner in the background?
No. It's just probably the humming of these office lights.
There's something or rubbing or something.
Well, it might be the microphone rubbing against my shirt.
Maybe.
You know, I've got a collar on today.
Oh, well, yeah, that's probably causing the problem. In our cool tech segment, Physicists now have sent particles of light into the past to prove time travel is possible.
What?
Scientists from the University of Queensland in Australia have used single particles of light, photons, to simulate quantum particles traveling through time. They showed that one photon can pass through a wormhole and then interact with its older self. The findings were published in Nature Communications. Yes.
Everything's going to blow up. Stafford, help me out here. What does this mean?
It doesn't mean anything.
Thank you.
It's all bogus.
It's not bogus. And since we're all in a simulation anyways, does it matter? Can't you just reboot the simulation? We're all essentially on a holodeck. Come on.
I don't know what that is.
You don't know what a holodeck from Star Trek is?
No.
What?
Should I?
Everybody knows what a holodeck is.
Don't. I don't think everyone does. I don't think everyone
McFly.
does. Don't think everyone does.
So what's going on in earnings land? You mentioned something about earnings earlier.
Yeah, well, we had bank earnings, right? We had Citi yesterday. We had JP Morgan yesterday. Both basically beat on top line, but there were other things in the earnings report. Both stocks finished lower. As a matter of fact, Citi finished lower more than 3% yesterday. I think it was like 3.4% or something like that. And JP Morgan finished down a little over 0.75% yesterday. And then today we had Bank of America and Wells Fargo, and I think we still have NPC. I think. I haven't seen it, but I think that comes out today. So the details of Bank of America, third quarter EPS 48 cents versus an expectation of 46 cents. Revenue 22.088 billion. And the expectation was 21.94 billion. So Bank of America beat on both the top and the bottom line, but their credit losses were up by 15%. Credit losses reached, $834 million. So that is doing what to the stock, Mike?
For which one? Bank of America?
America stock right now is up 1%, 3.8. So one spot, 3.8. Wells Fargo, third quarter revenue, 21.9 billion. Expectation was 22.4 billion. Adjusted EPS of 104. Wells Fargo talked about having to put a lot more toward lawsuits. They're accruing more than they were before. Their stock, like Citibank, is down it's about 3.35% as I look at it right now. Again, Citigroup continues to go lower. Right now they're down 0.25% on the day, but yesterday was just a debacle in Citigroup. JP Morgan, on the other hand, JP Morgan is up, but less than 0.25%.
Yeah, I would not be touching Citibank right now or Wells Fargo. Citibank's a little overextended and it's got a big bearish candlestick reversal pattern. Doesn't it look like a dark cloud cover?
Yeah, it does.
That's a dark cloud cover on Citi. And I won't touch Wells Fargo because of the cockroach principle still not done.
Cockroach principle, that's what you called it. That's right. There's always more than one cockroach principle.
Yeah, just like that's a great tie-in to the WTF and hacking hangout because Equifax hack. They reported nearly 11 million U.S. driver's licenses were also stolen.
I mean, come on.
Which is not good. And then this is, tying in the bad hacking hangout, Equifax may have been hacked again. This came out yesterday. They had to remove their web page eventually because some other people found that a fake Flash installer could pop up when you visit the site that infects your computer with adware. So somebody hacked into their site and put up a fake Flash installer on one of the web pages. People were going to check their information that said, you need to update Flash. People clicked on it and installed malware on your computer. So then they had to pull the web page goes offline once it was reported. But it was up there for like a couple days.
So let me get this straight. The company that was hacked, that their purpose is to guard your credit, to help you preserve your credit and guard your credit. They were hacked, and the website they put up to check and see if you were affected by the hack was
hacked.
susceptible to a hack.
Yes, and then it was hacked, and then the people who I need to upgrade this because they didn't realize that it was malware on the site, then they clicked on it, and then they were infected again.
So this is a 3-part. Let me get this straight.
Again, never won
also
cockroach.
given the contract from the IRS to guard our. Yeah. Okay.
But the IRS has temporarily suspended the $7.2 million no-bid contract it awarded to Equifax to verify the identities of taxpayers. The IRS plans to continue reviewing the security of Equifax's systems during the suspension. Well,
wow.
What's Equifax's? Oh, there it is. EFX. I always forget their symbol. Where is that now? They've had a nice dead cat bounce. From the lows at 90 back to 108.96, but they've returned essentially to the weekly rotation zone and a prior breakout zone. So that's a pretty good shorting area again. So
yeah,
this is not a stock I'd touch with for any amount of money because I think they need to revamp their.
Yeah, they clearly need to revamp something.
They need to.
They need some revamp.
Yes, revamp. This is in our electric and self-driving car segment, which keeps sort of expanding because this stuff is moving so quickly now. Cruise, the self-driving car startup GM acquired last year, has acquired a startup of its own called Strobe, which is a LiDAR sensor maker that reduces an entire LiDAR array just down to one chip.
What's a LiDAR?
LiDAR is the
laser radar.
Yes.
It's the big problem with self-driving automobiles and they're being able to trust the data is using this LiDAR system. And there isn't a system that is ready for manufacture. So General Motors is going at it with big money. Tesla's going at it by ignoring it. By just using dumb cameras. Mm-hmm. If General Motors can solve this is a real big deal. If they can get LiDAR at the price point of an AM/FM radio, it's going to be a huge game changer.
Wow.
Yeah, because the cost issue is a big one. LiDAR remains one of the single most expensive component in the autonomous vehicle stack, and its bottleneck is not just in terms of cost, but also in terms of manufacturing complexity and performance and reliability over time. But this reduces the chipset very small, so it's going to become cost efficient. And LiDAR, it's a surveying method that measures distance to a target by illuminating that target with pulsed laser light and measuring the reflected pulses with a sensor. Differences in laser return times and wavelengths can then be used to make a digital 3D representation of the target. So it essentially maps in real time your 3D surroundings, which is very important because then you're not dependent on just traditional radar and you're not dependent on cameras like in fog conditions or in bad weather conditions or in situations where radar can misread. This LiDAR actually provides the 3D map to the computer systems.
That's how Daredevil's site works.
And this is not new technology. LiDAR's been around since really kind of, I would say, the mid-'80s in military industrial applications. But dropping $20 million for a LiDAR system in military applications for an M1 tank is nothing. But trying to make it fit in a little box that will survive winter and high heat as an automobile part.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. It's not high technology. It really isn't. It's just about consolidating, miniaturizing it, and making it automobile manufacturer friendly.
So that's why this is a story, because they can consolidate it into one chip.
Right. And already...
Again, that is... Go ahead, Mike.
I was going to say, because then wrap up, but I was also going to say, Cadillacs, we talked about Cadillacs and the new Super Cruise feature for autonomous driving, but they're using this LiDAR that's already in the trunk. It's the bigger version still, but it's in the trunk of the Cadillac CT6. It is accurate within 10 centimeters. It sees 2,500 meters ahead of the car based on its trajectory and shares information with the computer that determines if the semi-autonomous feature should continue or if the driver should take over. So that's already in the Cadillac, and that's before it even gets shrunk down.
Yeah, it's a $70,000 car. That's as cheap as they can make a car with it at this point and have it be fantastic.
Wow. Again, that's almost exactly how Daredevil's super senses work in Marvel Comics, except it's sonar, not laser.
In other news, it's moving so quickly. And this reason we're covering this is because of all the different investment opportunities and companies that are doing this. Because like NVIDIA introduced a computer for level 5 autonomous cars. It's the NVIDIA Drive PX Pegasus. They've now saying it's capable of level 5 autonomy, meaning no pedals, no steering wheels, no need for anyone to ever take control. The new computer delivers 320 trillion operations per second, 10 times more than its predecessor. It's coming out in the second half of 2018. So that is huge that their stock is up big. This is a stock, another one that, on nice pullbacks to the weekly rotation zone is just a buy. And then the work that Mobileye and Intel are doing, you have some really powerful stuff that's really going to take these cars to level 5 autonomy faster than anybody thinks, I think.
And it's going to be critical for the stocks, just so everybody knows. You just look at something like the current crop of parents and the current crop of 20-somethings that will be parents. And we don't even have to talk completely about driving while impaired. 10% of the licensed drivers in the country are under 21, but they're responsible for 17% of the fatal alcohol-related crashes. So that's one statistic that's going to get parents to say, I'm getting my kid an autonomous car, or we're going to get an autonomous car in the house, and it's the only one the kid's allowed to drive. And that's not to mention that there's the National Safety Council says that cell phone use while driving leads to 1.6 million crashes a year, and nearly 330,000 of those are specifically texting while driving. 1 in every 4 car accidents in the United States is caused by texting and driving. And if you've ever been around anyone under the age of 20, well, hell, under the age of 30, their phone just doesn't get put down, ever. So that's why I'm such a fan of autonomous. I love driving my cars. I've usually had cars with some level of performance over the last 20 years. And I enjoy driving. It's actually fun for me. But I even find myself looking at my phone. So this is going to be huge money. And the companies that get it right first, their stocks, are going to have a huge bump.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah?
You just ruled out anybody driving a Model 3 then, Tesla.
Uh-oh.
Because it's essentially you can only control most of the car via single touch screen in the middle of the car. So essentially you're texting while driving to do anything to the car.
In order to drive.
Yes.
That is driving by texting, not texting while driving.
Yes, it's driving by texting, like to even turn on your windshield wipers or to adjust your vents or to do anything. Literally, you have to use the touchscreen, which is not directly in front of your face, which is off to the side. So you're constantly distracted by even your speed limit and everything else is on the one screen. So
I struggle with my touchscreen in my car. Luckily, my most functions, 99% of the functions in my car on my touchscreen, I don't own a Tesla, by the way, are mimicked by buttons, like they're duplicated. There's redundancy throughout the car. And 50% of them are on the steering wheel. So it's just so much easier than a touchscreen.
Yeah, I always I have the touchscreen, same aggravation on both the cars, and I go to the buttons. Not like 90% of the time I'm on the buttons, the manual controls, instead of, because the touchscreen I'm having to glance over. Sometimes it doesn't register what I'm doing, or it takes 3 or 4. You have to go to this screen, to this screen, to this screen. Well, pretty soon then I'm like not watching the road.
Yep.
So that's in the why Tesla's going to zero segment, but other news. Toyota, this is very cool. Toyota, this has been sort of under the wraps, but now they're less than 2 weeks away from putting its zero-emission semi-truck into service with a major customer in California. Toyota semi-truck is a joint project with Kenworth. It's a Toyota powertrain, resides within a Kenworth glider. From the outside, that it looks pretty much just like a giant Kenworth semi-truck, but it doesn't run on diesel. It contains electric motors and has zero tailpipe emissions. It's very cool. It can handle a 80,000 pound weight capacity, which is a standard class 8 tractor trailer. It has over 200 miles of range, refill in just minutes, similar to diesel, 670 horsepower and 1,325 foot-pounds of torque. They've already put over 4,000 miles on these demo trucks, and now they're entering a new phase on October 23rd when the truck will be entering commercial service.
They look no different.
Yeah, and it's what's critical is they can do everything these diesel trucks can do, plus get 200 miles and refill or like recharge.
How do you
pretty
recharge
quick.
so quickly? That's amazing technology.
Yeah, that's where these new batteries are getting pumped out that can actually sustain these super high charging rates. So that's big news. And they've been testing this under the radar, and they're rolling it out way ahead of Tesla's even announcement, because Tesla had to push their announcement back to November 16th because they blamed on they're diverting the resources back to their Model 3 production issues, which we talked about last week, and because they're trying to save Puerto Rico with batteries.
They've also got a hydrogen fuel truck. Kenworth does.
Yes,
this is the one. I've never told you guys that if I could do anything other than what I do now, and it might include what I do now, it would be an over-the-road trucker. It has a lot to do with my affinity for small spaces. And I've always wanted to sleep in one of those trucks overnight, in one of those sleeper cabs that they have. I just always thought that would be the coolest thing. I'd outfit it with beads and red velvet and incense.
You'd have Brady Bunch beads?
I'd have Brady Bunch beads. It would be so badass.
That's your dream?
Yeah, love it.
No good humor can come from this segment.
I love ice cream.
I'm now a little more worried about you than I was 30 seconds ago, but
it's not possible.
And then possible. we have just to wrap up in Tesla news, we have a couple new lawsuits against Tesla in the last week. Then Tesla just announced yesterday they're recalling 11,000 Model X SUVs for a seat issue. Mm-hmm. And on top of that, Morgan Stanley raised their price target to $379 from $317. Like clockwork when all the bad news came out on Tesla.
You said they raised it?
Yes, they raised it from $317 to $379. They did not cite any math behind it or any financials. They just said, because of the Tesla Mobility division, which actually does not exist yet, which is their sort of self-driving vehicle autonomous taxi service. That doesn't exist yet, but that's worth $70 additional to the stock price. So we're raising the price target. But every time Morgan Stanley underwrites most of Tesla's fundraising. So whenever Tesla has a problem and their stock gets hit, all of a sudden this analyst, who I will not name, but people can look it up on the internet, I think he's the most atrocious analyst I've ever. If this goes back to .com days, this is the most egregious. I don't know how he gets away with it. It's just like, okay, stock price got hit. I'm just going to write some garbage out there and up the price.
Yeah, their autonomous taxi service, which they're currently not working on, is worth an extra $70.
Yes.
Wow.
And not citing any of the Model 3 production issues, the fact that they had to postpone the semi-truck stuff, the fact that they're having recall issues, the fact that now they're getting multiple lawsuits against them because they've promised stuff that can't be delivered. Actually, NVIDIA said, because NVIDIA, remember, they bailed from NVIDIA, but a bunch of their Autopilot 2.0 uses the NVIDIA chips, and NVIDIA actually came out and said the chip that Tesla has in all its Autopilot 2.0 and 2.5 is not capable of self-driving. And Tesla's like, no, yes, it is. And NVIDIA's like, no, we built the chip. It's actually not. So beyond all that, let's raise the price target on Tesla.
I'm really excited to get to cryptocurrencies today.
Yes. Oh, this one's good. I don't know who this is, so you're going to have to fill me in on this. Who is Ghostface? Ghostface Killer?
Ghostface Killer. Gotta say it right. Killer. Say it from your throat.
Killer.
From your throat, not from your mouth, from your throat. Killer.
Killer.
Don't, whatever. Anyway, he's one of the original members of the Wu-Tang Clan. Wu-Tang Clan was one of the more popular rap groups from, say, the early 90s, really. But that's one of my favorite rap names ever. Ghostface Killer. Because it's literally like you just threw words together that have nothing to do with each other. I mean, you can't kill a ghost. And he couldn't be less Ghostface.
Yeah, I know.
He's not a ghost-looking face.
Oh,
not like he's not Rhino or something. I mean, Ghostface, you can't kill a ghost. I don't know. It's just one of my favorite rap names ever, Ghostface Killer. Right up there with Chameleonaire.
What's a chameleonaire?
Well, he's a chameleon and a millionaire, so he's a chameleonaire. I don't know. I don't know what they think.
Are these guys in the same category as Vanilla Ice? Because that's great rap from the day.
Vanilla Ice should have been called Ghostface. All right, this is getting weird.
But Ghostface Killer has picked up the baton through announcing Cream Capital, I guess this is his company, will be seeking 30 million initial coin offering for his branded Bitcoins.
Yeah.
No.
This is all going to go well for these people.
This is where... Hold on. The ICO will be protected by a digital coin standard. The coins will be usable via debit card, and the outfit apparently has ATM set up in North Carolina. I'm not investing in Ghostface Killer's ICO. Can't do it. I just can't do it. Can I just
you're not buying Ghostface Killer's cryptocurrency?
No.
Mike? Sure.
No.
Can we start covering it in our daily cryptocurrency analysis on YouTube?
No.
If you guys haven't seen that, you should check that out.
We try to cover legitimate or, as legitimate as we can vet out cryptocurrencies. We do not cover some of these insane ICO things because I think it's a disservice to the general population who cannot properly vet them. Because if we can't properly vet most of them, other people can't either.
Yeah.
But on that news, Bitcoin, US dollar, trading right now over 5,700. It recovered back from its lows. What was it? A few weeks ago, remember when everybody said it's going?
Crashing.
Yes. And then it was at 3,000 then, which was...
the Jamie Dimon
yes.
Bitcoin tirade.
And now it's back to 57.47. All new time highs.
I'm trying to get us invited to the JP Morgan cryptocurrency symposium.
So that is if people are interested in what the long-term price targets, I'll just call out the next major price target we have is 61.24, but it's got to pull back a bit first. It's getting very overextended. So that's a good tie-in with the U.S. economy segment. We had the Fed. There's a bunch of Fed stuff this week, but before we get to that,
before we get to that, before we get out of cryptocurrencies, can I just say that, and this is kind of goes along with Wells Fargo and some of the fraud we saw there, and that was fraud, so we can comfortably call it that. It's just comedy to me because I'm looking at an article right now that JP Morgan Chase has been routing customer orders for Bitcoin-related instruments, including some of the ETFs that have been developed for cryptocurrencies. And they also act as an agent for buyers and sellers of Bitcoin XBT, which is an exchange-traded note designed to track the value of Bitcoin. Yet the CEO calls it a fraud and says if anyone trades in it, he'd fire them, but they're making money off of it. It's very similar to oftentimes these CEOs have no idea what's going on in their company. And it goes to the point where when a CEO talks about the stock, you still need to do your own research on the stock. Because oftentimes, like we saw in Wells Fargo, it's safe to say that the CEO had no idea that fraud was going on, or he may have. We don't know. But it just goes to show you the distance between the CEO and the day-to-day is at an all-time high. I mean, Jamie Dimon goes on TV, calls it a fraud, says would fire anybody, as his bank is routing cryptocurrency orders and cryptocurrency exchange-traded products. That's all. I just wanted to add that into the segment.
Very good. Very
PPI.
good. PPI ex food and energy up 0.4%, expectations of 0.2%, last was 0.1%. That's the producer price index. The consumer price index came in at 2.2%, expectations of 2.3%, so that missed a bit, even though PPI beat. Core CPI came in at 1.7, expectations of 1.8. Retail sales missed 1.6% versus expectations of 1.0, but retail sales ex autos beat 1.0 versus expectations of 0.9. And just before we get to Fed stuff, GDP Now just came out this morning, which is the Atlanta Fed. Then they raised their third quarter to 2.7% GDP growth. Anything from the Fed this week that you want to talk about?
I am going to do that in my why. So I'm going to refrain, because normally I go off on a tangent when you ask me that, and then I screw up my why, so I'm not going to do that. But we did also, excuse me, we did also have Michigan sentiment today. So University of Michigan consumer confidence was expected to come out at 95.1, and it actually came out at 101.1. So huge number there for the October preliminary Michigan sentiment confidence. Current conditions came out a little bit lower. It was expected at 116.4, and it came out at 111.6. And expectations came out higher than expected, 91.3 versus 85.3.
I think also in that report, people are the most bullish ever on stocks.
Yeah.
The general public.
Worrisome.
Yeah, that's a little worrisome because...
Very worrisome.
Yes. So, let's see. Just you can get to your Fed stuff. Just wanted to highlight many. Was the minutes out this week? Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because most Fed officials saw another rate hike were warranted this year. They were concerned that the low inflation was not transitory. Williams came out and he was saying it was appropriate for the Fed to bring short-term rates to 2.5% over the next 2 years. John Williams on Wednesday came out. He said he expects the central bank to raise interest rates later this year, 3 times next year, and a little bit further in 2019. So that's just my update. We also have rumors out this morning. We can switch to currency and international markets. The ECB is considering cutting QE purchases in half next year. I think this is what we'd call a trial balloon.
Yeah, Bloomberg was reporting that sources familiar with the conversation or the debate. I don't know who that is, but
what sources?
Yeah, I mean, officials familiar with the debate. Also that they were going to end it by September of next year. So that's what the ECB is doing different than the Fed. Is the Fed employed a taper where they slowly drift off and out of the market, and the ECB is discussing an abrupt end, but telling the market exactly when that's going to be. So they're talking about reducing it a couple of times and then putting an end date on it and then just ending, which is interesting. It'll be interesting to see how that responds. But they're talking about being completely transparent to the market and making it a pretty far off date, which I think September of next year would fit that. It's almost a year, 10 months away, 11 months away.
Yeah, anything else from what? There's some other Brexit stuff this week, wasn't there?
So Theresa May is struggling. A couple of weeks ago, she had a really, really just a disaster of a speech. And it wasn't just that. There's been complaints about the way she's handling Brexit to begin with, this idea that the UK should just adopt European laws in order to facilitate the Brexit and then just change the laws later. And there are now 30 people from her party who have gotten together, and they haven't made an official declaration, but the discussion is that they're going to ask her to step down and step aside. the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who I think his name is Philip Hammond. He's the equivalent of the U.S. Treasury Secretary, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, was actually quoted as saying he sees the possibility of no Brexit at all now. And that sent the pound into a bit of a tizzy, because then that means, what are they? Are they still in the EU? We have no idea. Boris Johnson, who was the mop-topped blonde head of the Brexit vote, like the sort of the face of Brexit prior to the UK populace agreeing to actually vote for the Brexit, the referendum. He is part of the government as sort of a nod to that party, and he's kind of been isolated. He's pushed aside. He doesn't feel that they should pay any divorce payment, and Theresa May is bending to paying a divorce payment. Theresa May and her Brexit negotiators. So it's going badly. It's going very, very bad. There's not a whole lot positive about it. And the pound versus the US dollar is showing that. Like, if you glance over to pound US dollar chart, part of the dollar strength that we had seen had been from a rally against the pound. And while it came back a little bit, the pound, meaning the pound came back a little bit in August, it has since fallen after making highs in, like, I think it was mid-September. It has since done nothing but fall against the U.S. dollar. It's just been weaker and weaker and weaker off of most of this. Although we do have about a 6-day rally going on now, it looks more like, well, I don't want to go into the technical part of it, but it looks more like it may be recovering now on a more permanent basis. But Brexit negotiations are not going well at all.
Very good synopsis. It was so good, such a good synopsis, that I imagine you might as well tie it into your why.
Today's edition of The What and the Why is brought to you by Motive Wave Software. Motive Wave Software is a well-established developer of easy-to-use, full-featured charting, analysis, and trading software built for the individual trader. Motive Wave offers the best charting tools used by the pros, such as Elliott Wave, Fibonacci, Gartley, Gann, and ratio analysis, but it's presented in a very easy-to-use way. Motive Wave has a product to fit any budget and any trading style, and one of the very best features, it's available on Windows and Mac. So go to pathtradingpartners.com right now to get your 14-day free trial, and then visit them at motivewave.com.
My why. Why is the Fed tightening rates in December? It's my why. I have no idea why they're doing it. We got a miss on CPI this morning. We got a miss on PPI yesterday for the most part. Neither showed inflation again. And in this week's Fed minutes that were released from September, there were a couple of members of the FOMC that basically said they don't believe inflation, the low inflation is temporary. They think it might be structural. And we've talked about this a lot on the podcast. We've talked about it amongst ourselves. That there's several deflationary factors in the economy right now, not the least of which being demographics, but also being things like Amazon. And if people in the FOMC are believing that, and again, it's the minority, it's still the minority. Janet Yellen actually mentioned that part of the problems with inflation were cell phone plans a couple of weeks ago. She called the factors transitory. But there's now a discussion, as confirmed by the September minutes that were released on Thursday. There's a discussion within the FOMC that our low inflation environment may not be temporary. It may be more structural. So if the Fed is raising rates into low inflation, what do we need for equities to continue to rally? As of yesterday, the current price to earning ratio of the S&P 500 was about 25.44, something like that. It was over 25, it's near 25 and a half. The mean since about 1917. Should I use the median or the mean, Mike? Which one is more important, the median or the mean, statistically speaking? Probably the mean.
The mean.
The mean is a little over 15. So by that measure, you could say stocks are well priced above where they should be. However, what makes PE ratios grow, right? The desire to own those earnings makes people reach for higher stock prices. If rates are going higher, interest rates, and inflation is not, that means people can make money on savings accounts with higher interest rate. And if prices are not rising, that will be enough money because of the safety of it. So we need strong earnings now. We need a really strong fourth quarter for the stock market to continue to rally at this particular PE. People will not be willing to pay for those earnings at a higher multiple if interest rates are going higher. Now, currently, we've seen long-term interest rates go lower, but the probability of a Fed rate hike in December, after that sort of dovish conversation we had in the FOMC minutes, the probability stayed in the mid 80% range, 86, 87% for the first rate hike in December. So that's basically a certainty. The market is telling you there's a rate hike coming in December, and the market is certain of it. But the interesting thing is that after that dovish after that dovish FOMC minutes that we got on Thursday, the probability for a second rate hike in March actually went up 0.5%. It went from 31 to 31.5%. Now, that's still not a certainty, but the market is still betting that the Fed is going to be on a path of hiking rates regardless of inflation. If that is the case, and we don't get strong earnings in this quarter, this third quarter, and we've already seen bank earnings mixed. Bank of America strong, Wells Fargo and Citi weak, JP Morgan neutral. If we don't get strong earnings in the third quarter, the stock market is in serious trouble. That's my why.
Heard it here first.
You did.
Potential serious trouble.
Potential serious trouble.
It's only just going to go up, Bob.
I know.
Do not be so negative. Everybody's bullish on it.
Crazy like that.
Except you.
This is the first time I'm bearish in a while. And I'm not even really bearish yet. I mean, let's see the earnings. You know, the stock market can go a lot higher than a 25.5% PE or 25.5 PE. It can go higher than that. It's been
No,
higher.
it can't. No, it can't. It can't.
The S&P 500 has had a 117 PE. That's the all-time high, 117. So it can go higher.
Anything is possible.
It goes higher in low interest rates and low inflation because people are willing to buy.
You know what else could go higher?
What?
Facebook.
That's
my what?
Go. They're expanding in Chicago, by the way.
They are?
Yeah. Go ahead, do your why, and I'll tell you the story.
All right. Well, I don't have a why. I have a what because I'm Mr. What.
Do your what.
Now, what were you going to say?
Facebook planning major Chicago expansion. For those of you that don't know, we are in Chicago. Facebook plans to add 100,000 square foot and 500 new employees to its Chicago office. The office currently has about 25,000 square feet and 80 employees. That's all.
I did not know
Major Chicago expansion.
Who is going to win the new Amazon site?
Is that a robot?
No, the new Amazon big.
I think Chicago is.
You do?
I do. I think Chicago's basically giving. I mean, Google's here. Facebook's expanding. I'm just going with the hot city.
It's actually going to be winter soon, though.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's not going to be a hot city.
Well, Chicago's got its own little tech hub. There's a lot of beards and skater shoes and flannels and hoodies walking around the city. By the way, the CME is very angry with Chicago.
Why now?
I need to get details of the whole story, but there was a Bloomberg interview and I only saw a bit of it and I really need to look at it. But recently, Terry Duffy from the CME, who's a really smart guy, basically said that the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is not tied to the city of Chicago anymore. And they're not going to be a piggy bank to solve Illinois' problems, which couldn't be more right. I mean, he could not be more right. They're in the 98% electronic now. And my guess is that there was conversation about putting some sort of trading tax to try and bail the state of Illinois out of their fiscal problems. And again, money grab like crazy. But Terry Duffy basically said, no, you ain't doing that to us. And I commend him for it.
You know what else was overturned this week? The sugar tax. The Michael Bloomberg sugar tax that they passed in Chicago got thrown out.
Really good.
Yes, I was very happy about that because they actually were taxing unsugarfied drinks, and they were taxing my
Did you say
kombucha.
unsugarfied?
Yes, unsugarfied. That's my new term.
That is a all new time high of words right there.
Yes, unsugarfied. They were taxing my kombucha, and stay away from my kombucha. I was actually, I bought it, and I'm like, what's this? I'm like, you're really taxing kombucha too? You can't. Oh. And then I buy my iced tea, which has no sugar in it and no artificial sweetener, and what is the tax on it? Come on.
Breaking news, Saudi Aramco considers shelving international IPO. It's actually big news.
That is big news. Did you have any? I forgot to ask you about crude.
You know, there's a little bit of crude news. Mostly Chinese imports were up. We're getting the rally that you and I've talked about. I mean, I've talked about it on a fundamental basis that we're sideways until we rally. And crude's actually falling a little bit on that announcement. And I think the reason being, I mean, crude went as high as 51.72 today. And it actually technically is now starting to look like it pulled back to that breakout zone, Mike, in the rotation zone on the daily and then popped back out of it. From a fundamental perspective, there's the refinery runs are coming back up, and we're going to start to see draws during a time of the year that we don't see draws because the crude oil stockpiles are at the high end of the average for this time of year, but the gasoline is still low. There was a gasoline build last week because there's less demand for gasoline, but I believe the refineries trying to get back up to capacity because they need to run all their processes and stuff where they're normally shutting down parts of the refinery this year to switch to winter blend. They're going to continue to try and build inventories, I believe, preparing for next summer. So also, I believe that OPEC and Russia are going to stretch out throughout 2018, the production cuts. And OPEC announced through Saudi Arabia that Saudi Arabia was going to cut their November exports by a much larger amount than September. So crude oil to me fundamentally still looks bullish, even though this is the time of the year that normally starts to collapse. October is a very, October usually starts off with a sell-off, rallies into mid-month, and then sells off in toward the end of the month seasonally. And then the sell-off continues through like December, January until we get back to ramping up for the summer driving season. I don't know that that's going to happen this particular month. But if Saudi Aramco shelves their IPO, that takes away, theoretically, one of the reasons they wanted higher crude oil prices, is to get a higher IPO price. Theoretically. That has been the speculation of a lot of analysts. Saudi Arabia has never said that.
Very cool. All right. I don't have anything else.
I don't either. Good show this week, guys. Thanks for listening, everybody. I am Bob Iacino.
I am Mike Arnold. We will see you next week.